Well, that sucks. That was, I won't say it was the greatest Coke 600 by any means. It was a decent race. But man, it just sucks knowing what could have been. I'm not going to lie. Welcome in, everybody. I know it's not a fun way to end the night. I know it's not probably the way you wanted to see me. Trust me, I would have been A-okay streaming at 2 a.m. But here we are. This is the 2024 Coca-Cola 600 post-race show. Unfortunately, it is more the Coca-Cola 375, or however many miles it is. But it is what it is. I know it's going to be biased by how it finished, but out of 10, 10 being the best race you've ever seen, 0 being the worst race ever, what do you think of this race? Poll, by the way, is up on the community tab as well. We'll read these super chats later on, I promise. But overall, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. The ending does suck. I get that. But it still had a lot of good racing. I don't necessarily think this far in it was as good as the last 2 years, but that's okay. It still was a pretty good race overall. So let's look into this baby and I guess just, go over what we did see. It's just a rough day to be an American racing fan, thanks to Mother Nature. She stayed away just long enough that we thought we were safe for a while, and then, we all thought it was going to be the Indy 500 that was going to be the one most affected by weather, and while it got postponed, it ran the entire race. But it is what it is. It sucks, but there's nothing we can do about it. This race was 249 laps long, 3 hours, 4 minutes, 14 seconds, 21 lead changes among 10 leaders, and 7 caution flags on the night. Christopher Bell was our winner tonight. No margin of victory because it ended under rain. But Brad Keselowski comes home with a second place finish. Another solid run for Bad Brad. William Byron is now third on the board, as is in fourth Tyler Reddick, and fifth is Denny Hamlin. Sixth is Ty Gibbs. Seventh, Chase Elliott. Eighth is Ross Chastain. Alex Bowman ninth, and Josh Berry. Another solid run in the wake of Stewart-Haas Racing going through major turmoil and it being rumored that they're going to announce. That's not for sure. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but the rumor is that Stewart-Haas Racing will announce their future or lack thereof future this Tuesday. So great top 10 finish for him in the midst of that. Bubba Wallace, fast car tonight, probably deserves way better than 11th place finish. Same goes for 12th place finisher Martin Truex Jr. Justin Allgaier in the 5 car comes home 13th position. We will not be able to see Kyle Larson do the double this year. We will have to wait until next year to see that. Joey Logano in 14th. 15th is Kyle Busch. 16th, Michael McDowell. Todd Gilliland in 17th. 18th is Daniel Hemrick. 19th, Eric Jones. 20th is Austin Cindric. After Cindric, we got 21st place Carson Hocevar. Justin Haley in 22nd. 23rd, Chris Buescher. 24th is Daniel Suarez. Chase Briscoe 25th, Ryan Preece 26th, Austin Dillon 27th, 28th, Shane Van Gisbergen. Jimmy Johnson finishes on the lead lap, 29th position tonight, ahead of his teammate and the driver of his team, John Hunter Nemechek, 30th on the night. Ricky Stenhouse comes home 31st. 32nd is Harrison Burton. 33rd, Zane Smith. Kaz Grala 34th, and final car on the lead lap was Corey LaJoie in 35th. Lap down was Ty Dillon, or I believe 2 laps down is what NASCAR is saying on here, 36th. And last car on track, 37th, 8 laps down is BJ McLeod. 3 cars finished out of this race. Noah Gragson in 38th, Ryan Blaney 39th, and JJ Yaley in 40th. Our first full 40-car field for a non-Daytona 500 in the next-gen era. And I see everybody letting me know what they think. The track was almost dry. It started raining again, though. That's the part that sucks. I wish they could have got it in, but there was just no way. I mean, they'd have to spend another 2 hours drying it, and then we're looking at, at that point, getting racing in at 1 to 3 in the morning with more rain possibly popping up throughout the night. There's just nothing I think that they could really do about it. So while we talk about this race and everything surrounding it, like the Indy 500, the double with Larson, all of that, I will have a ticker going across the top with the finishing order of tonight's race, the Coke 600. I'm just going to be an ass about it. We're going to put like a little asterisk there at the end of it, since it was rained out after all. And again, I will read super chats and all that later on tonight, but let's get into talking about this. And by the way, click that like button. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the subscribers up. We're closing in on 77,000 subscribers on the channel. You guys are absolutely incredible, and I want to thank you guys for that. And anyone who's new, we do this after every race, no matter what time we end those races. It's actually, for me, I will say this, it's probably good that it got called, because there's the possibility of pop-up tornadoes later on into the night, and it's probably not good for me to be streaming during those. But let's talk about this race. So there were two big stories before this race that happened that impacted the race in some way. First off, Ty Gibbs got his first pole. A solid run for Gibbs tonight. 6th place finish. And I think just overall, he ran very strong, and he ran where he has been basically not been running. He should have been running where he was at tonight more often. They kind of fell off. They picked it back up a little bit. So solid run, solid just everything for Ty Gibbs heading into the summer months. What is it? This Saturday is June. And the other one is that the Indy 500 had, I believe, a 3-hour rain delay. Therefore, because of that, not only was Kyle Larson not able to do the double tonight because of the rain out, he didn't even race at all tonight. He was a scratch. He qualified the car, but it was Justin Allgaier that started. Would have got the points if he were running for Cup Series points, but he missed the 600 running the Indy 500. I don't blame him. And we can talk a little bit about waivers really quick while we're talking about Kyle Larson. I know a lot of people had some discussions about that on Twitter. Twitter's Twitter. I didn't see too much discussion about it in the chat, but we'll talk about it a little bit. Based on precedent, I think he should get one. The problem to me is that waivers don't really matter. NASCAR hands them out like, candy to kids at Halloween. So I'm not going to be mad at all if Larson gets it, simply because NASCAR has minimized the meaning of these waivers so much that it doesn't really matter. In my opinion, they should get rid of the waiver rule altogether. Unless you're if you declare full-time at the start of the year, that's it. You got it. You're good. That way, that during the season, say like a Ross Chastain who would switch down to the truck series, well, too bad. You said you were doing the Xfinity series. That happened 3-4 years ago. 2019 was 5 years ago. Damn. So you're basically, you pigeonhole yourself in. If you're going to be part-time and that's what you've been, and you go part-time, then you're not eligible for the playoffs. If you're a full-time driver and you miss for a good reason, you're fine. I don't think drivers should be taking a bunch of time off, but I think that maybe points should be more important. The only thing to me that this all kind of proved is that all of us who have been very much maybe not pro playoffs have been right that it does minimize individual races during the regular season, especially if you win. But I'm telling you, man, pushing all that to the side, because he's going to get a waiver. He should get a waiver based on precedent. It's not an argument really all that much. I'm so let down by the fact that he wasn't able to run the full double. And the fact that we didn't get the full race in tonight. Just take the double even out of it. The 600 has been one of the best, at least top 2 or 3 races for the last 2 years of this next gen car. And it's just so disappointing they weren't able to get that final run completely under the lights, completely in the dark. And then you add in the component of Kyle Larson trying the double, and it's just, it sucks, man. It sucks. But there's not much we can do about rain, unfortunately. Another cool thing, 3rd straight sellout. Over 100,000 fans showed up again for the 600. Good stuff. You want, I mean, obviously you want to see that. There were so many times the 600 wasn't having that many people show up, but it's become a race that you want to see. All right, now we have this 12-minute lead-in to talking about it as I watch all the severe weather coming into my area. Whoopee, that's going to be fun. Let's talk about a bit of the race here. Ty Gibbs led off and fired off right at first because of failing pre-qualifying and practice inspection. Tyler Reddick would have to go down to the pits, do a pass through after, I believe, a lap or two, just so that it was like the full effect of it. I don't exactly know why they couldn't have just held him at the start and then once they got past the lap, let him out. But he managed to stay on the lead lap, which was pretty big for him, because I think that's the difference between him finishing top 5 tonight and possibly finishing outside of the top 10. Tyler Reddick with a 4th place finish tonight, even with that penalty. And I'll say, they were definitely racing really hard in that first run. It was difficult to pass up front. Wasn't as much later on into the run. But the big thing with stage 1 early on was the green flag pit stops. You had Kyle Busch, who had an uncontrolled tire. He was only able to recover to a 15th place finish tonight, in large part due to that. Other than that, though, it was pretty clean in that first stage until BJ McLeod brought out a yellow with a flat tire. It was a battle really between Gibbs and Byron for the first stage or 2 of this event. Ty would lead the way at the start of a run. Byron would get faster as the run went on. Even though Byron later on, I believe, hit the wall. But Byron wins stage 1. Gibbs second. 3rd is Bowman. 4th Bell. 5th MTJ. Then Bubba, Blaney, Brad, Barry, and McDowell finishing out the top 10 of stage number 1. McDowell, I believe, pitted later in this run, and because of that, he was able to have a bit fresher tires later on into the run and get a bit ahead where he normally would be running. But overall, relatively good first stage. At this point, if you're wondering what's going on with the Indy 500, this is where they're getting towards the finish of the race. Larson did lead with about 20 to go, but a speeding penalty on his part took him out of the race. That's just a mistake on his part that he'll have to make sure he doesn't make next year. That's about the best way. Where's the wrong result? Why are the results are wrong? I don't. Okay, I'll see. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure they're right. I'll turn them off just because people are saying it really quick. But I'm almost certain that they're almost. Yeah, I mean, they look right. Gibbs got 6th. Okay, then I'll fix that. Must have been, I will say, I got the final results that I read out from NASCAR.com, and the other ones I did actually get from, what do you call it? Fox. So, you can blame Fox on that one. All right, so, was that it? Was it just I got Gibbs wrong? Is that, just let me know. Because I'm looking at NASCAR.com now, and they got it pretty much. Yeah, I mean, they pretty much have it. So let me know if any more of them are wrong. It's just that kind of night. It is what it is. I'll let them keep rolling, and if there's another one that's wrong. Yeah, basically it's 4th through 6th that was the issue, I believe. And then Denny in the 5th position. So I got it fixed, I think. My bad on that one. I'll take the L on that, even if it was NASCAR or Fox or whoever. I should have been the one checking better on that one. So good job, good catch on that, guys. I appreciate it. See, we work together well. Even when I screw up, you guys are on your game. I appreciate it. But in stage 2, I mean, you did have a bit of side-by-side early on with Ross and Gibbs. Ross would be able to get the lead early on in it. Bell then gets past Ross. And again, you kind of just have a rinse, wash, repeat. Same thing that we had in stage 1, where you have pit stops around 40 or so laps into this run. Blaney would have this is where Blaney's race completely came undone. So with Blaney, he had an uncontrolled tire in the pits and then goes out, and they didn't have the tire, the right front, I believe, put on tight. And the wheel starts coming off, and he slams up in the wall, and that's the end of his race. No caution at that point. The caution would come out, not for him hitting the wall, not for something coming off his car, not for any of that stuff. The caution would come out because Blaney couldn't get his car into the garage from the pits, and the crew couldn't push it in there. It was just a terrible end for the defending winners race, unfortunately. We get restarted. Truex now is the one up front with Josh Berry after a bit of schedule tomfoolery. And so he gets the lead. Elliott's up there battling for the lead, as is William Byron. And as this is going on, you have a caution for Gregson having a big wreck down the backstretch that I believe he bounced off the 47. Fox didn't get it until like right at the end. Shocker. Telling you guys, 19 more days, or depending on where you're at, in 4 minutes, 18 more days until we get NBC back. But again, we have a split strategy under this caution. Top 7 or 8, I'd say, stay out. Up front is Byron and Elliott still. Hamlin gets Byron pushed by, though it ends up again being Bell. There was a lot of shuffling, especially on the early parts of runs for the lead. And because of that, you did see a lot of good racing, a lot of 3 and 4 wide racing through the pack, a lot of racing with guys just going underneath onto not the grass, but the turf, and making some pretty ballsy passes, if I say so myself. I liked what I saw on that one. The racing overall was not a problem. It was all Mother Nature on this one. I mean, again, we'll never know. We still needed that extra 150 laps to know if we had an all-time classic like the last 2 have been. But it was still pretty damn solid, if I had to say so myself. But stage 2 ends out with Bell winning it over Byron, Bubba, Hamlin, and Keselowski, the top 5. And then Bowman, Elliott, Berry, Chastain, and Reddick, the top 10 in this stage. Stage would end with Harrison Burton crashing. Just, are we surprised? But I'll say this again, and I see this with Berry being in the top 10 in both stages, finishing top 10 tonight, running in the top 5 at different points tonight, not just off of strategy, but speed. Very, very solid run for a driver that's on an inexperienced driver at this, that's on a team that is crumbling around him. I know it wasn't a good night for Noah Gragson, finishing 38th. I'm looking through the pack. It wasn't a good night either for Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece. They came home 25th and 26th on the night. But Josh Berry showed out. And there is potential with Berry. I don't think he's, was as good as, say, a lot of the hype leading into this year, or at least towards the end of last year about him. I still think that there's a lot of room for him to improve. But he's a solid driver, and he got to at least show out with it. By the way, Avery Hage on Twitter tweeted this out, and before we get to the finishing stage, the last 45 or so laps, if you want to hear something pretty damn cool, when it comes to who was really good tonight, as in like average running position, Bell was the best. His average running position was a 3.06 tonight. So basically he was on average running third. Next up was Byron at a 3.644. Gibbs at 4.448, then Bubba and Bowman the top 5. So, that's another one. Bowman. I want to give a shout out to Alex Bowman tonight. A lot of people can say a lot about him and how he's the weak link of Hendricks and all of this stuff. But I believe tonight, if I'm not mistaken, was Alex Bowman's 10th top 10 finish, right? He finished 9th. So just another solid run. He was running top 5 for a good portion of tonight. Bowman, I think Bowman really needs his props sung a little bit more, because I think he has been quietly one of the most solid drivers. I think consistency-wise, he's been the most consistent guy. He doesn't junk up his cars. He's just been solid. And when you're solid like that and you're starting to run higher and higher up, remember, I believe he has Blake Harris as his crew chief, who was really damn good. Brought, in my opinion, the best year that Front Row has ever seen. And now he is Bowman's crew chief at Hendrick. That kind of got cut short because of last year's injury he had. That's sort of a wash. This, in my opinion, is a guy who can peak later on in the season. And I've been right on my Bowman predictions before. I was probably the only person who predicted him to have 4 wins in 2021. So do not sleep on Alex Bowman tonight or the rest of the season. I think that Bowman's going to be very solid the rest of the year, and I think he might be better at the end of the year than he is right now. And he's finished in the top 10 in all but 4 races. Just want to say that, because it's very easy to pick on Alex Bowman, but I think he deserves that the props on it. But finishing out, let's talk about the final stage here. There was another storyline tonight. The 11, the 42, and the 17 kept having pit road issues because of how far or not far into a box that they were that they were pitting. Hamlin was pissed at Buescher. Buescher was pissed at Nemechek. Nemechek, I don't know, but it caused them issues all night. Hamlin, I think, had 2 or 3 stops where he actually, or at least 2 stops, I think, where he lost positions because he was pinned in by the 17. The 17 lost positions. I mean, he was a top 10 car tonight, ends up finishing 23rd, in large part because that final pit stop that they had tonight, he was stuck behind the 42. It's going to be interesting, I think, just seeing that kind of reaction. It's going to be interesting seeing Denny Hamlin post his podcast later tonight and him bitching about how SMI needs to change their pit lanes. That's what I want to see tonight. And that's what I feel like we're going to see. I feel like Denny Hamlin is going to complain about something with that. I like Denny. I think Denny is really good for the sport as much as people want to hate him. I think he has a lot of knowledge about the sport, but man, like, if he gets hyper fixated on someone and he needs to complain about them, he will find a damn reason to, and I love it. I love the pettiness. But that's going to be a real interesting part of Action's Detrimental this week. Now, when it comes to the restart, it's Bell and Byron up front again. Bell would get the lead after 2 laps of just basically even driving for the lead. And you were seeing people getting really, really aggressive at this point. Gibbs was scraping the wall. Reddick was charging up, but he was getting into people. Brad Keselowski was battling for the lead lap after lap with Bell at different points. The big part here is about 30 or so laps into the run. You have LaJoie going around in 2. Caution comes out. Around this time is when Kyle Larson was flying in. Granted, they all live in Charlotte, so it's not for nothing, but it is kind of funny that Larson came in, had all this fanfare, and it was just all for nothing. He basically showed up at the track to sit in a pit box for 2 hours and then get told to go home, which again is disappointing and it sucks, and I know on that end with it, but it is kind of funny when you think about it. And then this is also where Buescher got pissed with the 42. So they restart on lap 236. About 10 laps or so is all they have to race. They're told weather's 15 minutes out. It's way closer than 15 minutes out. Bell and Brad are restarting on the front row. Bell gets it after a pretty even fight between the two. They try to keep it close. This is where Reddick now goes through the turf. They didn't catch this one because they were too busy using the spoiler cam, and they're probably looking at the screens rather than the racetrack in front of them. You had Byron passing the 54 and 45 through the turf as well. So the aggression and everything with that was ramping up as the night was going on and as the weather was getting closer. And you knew if they got back racing, with it being late, with them all being at home, with there being a holiday the next day, and they can go as late as they damn well wanted, you knew it was going to get crazy. But on lap 245, which would end up being 4 laps to go officially on the night when we finished at lap 249, but lap 245, there's a caution for rain, lightning delay, more rain, it's over. Just a disappointing way to end what was probably the most hyped weekend in American motorsports in a long-ass time. It sucks. There's no other way to put it. It just sucks. Hopefully next year will be better. It's very rare that Indianapolis gets affected by rain. Charlotte, on the other hand, it's a little more common, but I feel like Charlotte's been put through the ringer the last 2 years. Like, I think they're due for a good year, or like something like that. By the way, the poll is up right now, and wow, there is a surprising amount of people who voted bad on what they thought of this race. And by the way, we're only 40 away from 77K, so if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And we'll be on Danny B's channel, Danny B Talks. This one's in at 8 p.m. Eastern time for NWP, so be sure to check that out. Jeff Faviano will be on, and we'll talk all about this and the upcoming news with SHR. That's going to be big. If it's anything like the rumors all of us have been hearing, SHR might be gone. And that's just crazy to me. But Tony's pretty much mentally checked out from SHR for years, so what difference does it make on that end? And they might stick around Xfinity, but we don't know. Just sucks. By the way, lick the like button. Let's see if we can get over 200 likes by the end of this thing. I don't think it's NASCAR's fault. I know a lot of people are saying it's NASCAR's fault, but I really don't think it is. It's just bad weather, man. It's just bad weather. I think there's nothing they can do about that. They started the race on time. They didn't have any pressure of Larson being there. It was, I think, only a little after halfway through the Indy 500 when the 600 got started. So it wasn't like they did that. It's just bad luck. I get waiting for 2 hours is it sucks too. But I'd rather NASCAR give it a shot than not. I'd rather them give it a shot, not race, rather than hear, oh yeah, by the way, it stopped raining 15 minutes after they called it, and we could have raced, kind of like the first race I went to, which was Michigan in 06, where it was pouring for about 20 minutes and then sunny the rest of the day, and they could have dried the track and got the rest of the race in. I would much rather NASCAR always err on the side of trying to get the race in, and it sucks that we waited that long rather than lose it for basically just laziness, or not even that, but just hastiness to get out of town. It's just weather, man. That's what it is. I know it sucks, but what, are they going to make it stop raining? All right, let's get to super chats, and I'll keep an eye on the chat too. And we'll just keep going from there. Crash the Hedgehog, thank you for the 5. Of course, my luck. First race I could catch since Daytona, and it rains out. Good race though, and congrats to the fellow Okie. That's right. That's like the one tornado outbreak that Oklahoma doesn't get hit by. So good for Bell. Why didn't they run tomorrow? They were past halfway. NASCAR has been pretty consistent that if they're past halfway, they'll try and get it in, but it's official that day. I also saw a lot of people complaining about them trying to get it in, saying, no, they're just getting it in so we can see Larson in the car. And it's like, they've been doing this forever, guys. I mean, I forgot which race it was, but it was Atlanta in the late 90s. Championship, I think, is already finished up. And they wait like 6 hours to get a race in at the end that ultimately didn't matter for the championship, really didn't matter, all things considered, had to move a channel, stuff like that. I don't remember which year it was, but I know Slap talked about it in a video, and NASCAR always has erred on the side of trying for the most part. Yeah, 98. GN NASCAR fan, good catch on that. 98, Atlanta. Gordon already clinches the title. Race is ultimately meaningless. It's a horrible TV number, all that. You know, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not gonna lose sleep over them trying to finish a race for us. NASCAR Racing Fan 927 for the 2. Congrats to Bell on winning Fox's last Coke 375. Okay, I want to say something on that too. I cannot wait. Till we get back to NBC. I know Junior's gone and people will be upset about that, but Lee Diffie today, I think on the Indy 500 broadcast, proved why having him call NASCAR will be an awesome decision. Not to mention, you go look back at a couple races over the last 10 years or so he's called for NBC as well. So I'm happy on that. And also with Fox's last 600, what was supposed to be the 600, you're looking, in my opinion, at them upgrading to Prime. I mean, I get it. People don't want to pay for an extra thing. They don't want to stream. They don't want to this or that. But if you're looking at overall coverage, Prime will put in that extra effort. They have Dale Jr. there too. I also like the fact that Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be able to call the race from his hometown, the big hometown race, the 600. It sounds like it's something he's always wanted to do on top of calling a Daytona 500. And I know that if he has any say, like he's been saying he will have in the broadcast decisions, I think that he is going to have a lot of things in there that we probably want. I don't think it's going to be perfect. It is the first race with a new provider, but I think it's going to be a lot better than what Fox puts forward, which is kind of sad to say at this point. Think of it like this. At this time next year, Fox will have stopped broadcasting every NASCAR race of the 2025 season except for trucks. Fine by me. SW for the 2. Well, that's that. Thanks, Mother Nature. I hate you. Yeah, I hate her too. She's awful. NASCAR or Napa Racing Fan here for another 2. This week's rivalry. Kyle Larson versus Mother Nature. Yeah, it just followed him. It sucks because it looked like earlier in the week that it was not going to hit Charlotte that bad. And just the forecast changed. No other way around it. Fred Dog, thank you for the 5. After all that worrying about getting Indy in, it turns out that Charlotte is the one that gets wrecked. What could have been? What could have been? Yep. It's like I've been saying. Hunter Nixon Fishing, thank you for the 5. The only thing today that did a true double was Mother Nature. Sucks this race was decent, but not as good as 22 or 23. That's the way I'd put it. I think I said 7 out of 10, so a good race. You know, nothing I'm going to remember in 5 years. Like, if you're asking me, hey, remember that one next-gen Coke 600 from, like, right at the start, right at the first couple of years? The first thing I'm going to say is, 2022? No, not that one. 2023? No, not that one. Then, no, I don't remember it. It still was pretty good, though. John here for the 5. An absolute joke, waste of everyone's time. If they didn't want it to run so late, just call the race 2 hours ago. Well, I think the big issue is they're trying to get the race in. It's just that nature wouldn't allow them, or a lot of people are theorizing, I've seen you guys in the chat saying it might have been Fox that pulled the plug. They would have been racing way late in the night, but I would have been up for it. I stayed up for Daytona in 2015. I was at the 2021 Daytona 500. I know, like, diehards like me, we all would have stayed up. But I have a feeling it wasn't. I have a feeling it was that Fox probably, once it started raining again, even if it was sprinkling, it was like, nope, we're done. Dad, for the 1 month member chat, we had a 2009 Coca-Cola 600 moment with the rain delay. Yeah, I'd seen. It's weird. I had that race recommended to me so much on YouTube this week compared to any other 600. Sly Supersonic for the 2. Hell no. Rain shortened race, 0 out of 10. I wouldn't give it a 0 out of 10. And I thought it was still a pretty good race. Steven, thank you for the 99 cent. No comment on there, but thank you. Darren, thank you for the 2-month member chat. Even past halfway, just postpone it to tomorrow. That's just, I get NASCAR has broken their protocol before, but I have a feeling it's a big part network, and also they don't really do that. I've never heard of them doing that before, and I don't think they're going to do that. If it's before, I think that if it's before halfway, I think they're doing it like easily. They just would probably immediately, well, we're going to pick it up at 11 tomorrow. But I think once you're past halfway, it's just, I know it's a race we all look forward to, and that's probably why there's a bit more anger with it. But I don't see what they did wrong. And you know, give the industry their day off. A lot of people I know don't like hearing that, and I've argued against it too, but I don't see the outrage as much. We went through basically an entire day of the biggest events in basically all of motorsports past, you know, other than Daytona and maybe 1 or 2 other races in different series. We basically saw them all get affected in some way. Jam plays games for the 2, says dick move from NASCAR waiting 2 hours to call it. Again, I don't think that, it might be, some of these might be a joke, but I just don't think it's I don't think it's a problem as much as many people do. It sucks, but it's not a big a deal. Next year will probably be way better. Steven, thank you for the 2. Brad Keselowski robbed. Bell was pretty damn good though, like we were talking about earlier. Fred Dog for another 5 here. No sugarcoating it. Larson's double attempt has to be considered a failure. It is worth trying again, knowing he lost a good chance at points today. Is it worth trying again, knowing he lost a good chance at points today? I think that's a question that they're going to have to weigh next year, because it's a 2-year deal. He's coming back to IndyCar and the Indy 500 next year. But at the same time, you also have to think, how often does the Indianapolis 500 get delayed by rain like it was today? How often does that happen? How often are some of the different factors that led up to the 600 a factor? And I think at that point, it's just the perfect storm, no pun intended, of just bad things lining up that got completely in the way. Everything that could have went wrong outside of the engine blowing up in the Indy 500 or him crashing onto that race happened today. And I think he should try it again next year. If they miss it again, I think Mr. H should pull the plug long term on it. But it looks like a lot of other NASCAR drivers are pushing their teams to want to do this. So I don't think this is the last we're seeing of it. I don't know if we're going to see it every year, but I think we're going to see it more often now because it's more possible. And you saw the entire NASCAR and motorsports community get behind Larson on this, which I thought was really cool. It's not very often that NASCAR fans agree on something. SW for the 2, decent race, not going to lie. Bubba should have been top 5. I do agree. I think Bubba Wallace was very, very solid tonight, and I think he had a faster car than his finish showed. Kevin Randolph, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate it. I saw you in the chat today. I really appreciate it. Need for Speed, thank you for the 5. I've waited 7 years for Allgaier to get a good chance in Cup, and I was so happy tonight. Sucks that NASCAR F the race and ruined the mood. I think it's more Mother Nature than anything, but it is what it is. Mark, thank you for the 10. Look, this is no different than me seeing a cute girl make my day by interacting with the group I was with for a few seconds and then leaving. Disappointing, sure, but it is what it is. I like that. That's a good analogy with it. I like that. Vikings all day, 005. Nice name. Skull, buddy. Thank you for the 5. That ending really pissed me off. What a waste of time. Might as well have called it at least an hour ago. Again, I will always want them to try, especially if I'm at the track. I want them to try. Because I've had to miss races before where it's just my personal life gets in the way, like whether it's family stuff or work or whatever, that I can't come back to the race the next day. And I want to know that NASCAR tried what they could to get the race in. I think if you want to blame anyone, go after Fox. Why? Because they're an easy target. And they're not going to really say too much back. Plus, they're going to be gone in 3 weeks, so we can all forget about them after that until next year. Hunter Nixon, thank you for the 5. To sum today up, a real kick in the nuts. Yeah, that about sums it up. And then Fred Dog for the 2. Sunny in Monaco today. God is a stinking F1 fan. Our time will come again. Immortal for the 2. Why Mother Nature? Why? I think we're all asking that question. Napa for another 2. Love how Bell found out he won on TV. Hilarious. Tis the way of the modern rainout race. Or finding out on Twitter. Tyler, thank you for the 9-month member chat. It never rained again. Track never got wet again. I take it you were there. If that's the case, then Fox made a narrative out of it that it was. They showed it raining, but I mean, we had Slap Shoes on a couple weeks ago, and he was saying how like broadcasts can hide stuff or change stuff to make people at home think a certain way. So I wouldn't be surprised. And yeah, I see Alessandro in the chat. 7 more years with Fox. Yay. Squitter Ski for the 10. The 6 car was P2, so the 17 screwed Denny all day. It was pretty funny hearing him go back and forth. TVP, thank you for the 2. I don't know, maybe Fox made the call. That was probably what it was. Oh, it just reset. Kevin, thank you for the 2. Hill versus Chastain, anyone? I believe it. You meant Hill. It says Hull, but I believe you meant Hill. I'd be fine with it. I don't know if Ross would. Tyler for the 20 here says, no, it is NASCAR's fault. They had 3 options. Postpone to Monday, dry the track and run at 1:30, or 3, give up after hours of waiting, get the track mostly dry, and say it was too humid. NASCAR picked number 3. Well, I still think having a race that's past halfway, postponed to the next day, that's not going to happen. So we can take that one out. I'm all for running the race at 1:30 in the morning. I'll stay up for it. Again, if it wasn't raining there, then yeah, that's BS on their part. I want to know for sure whether or not it was or was not, because I've had multiple people say it was, multiple people say it wasn't. Just sucks all around. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I'm going to stay on that because I think we all are agreeing on that. Gooby's Fun Zone for the 5. I like how NASCAR is giving a waiver out like Oprah gives out cars. That they were only for medical reasons. Now they give them out for everything. It is true. They're completely pointless. The rule is pointless at this stage because these guys are still going to run all the races. And if they miss one, it's probably going to be for some sort of good reason. And if they can make the playoffs points-wise without making all the races, they might as well still be added in. Like if this is 2007 and Mark Martin is top 16 in points and makes it in, let's say, even though he missed 8 of the races, he still deserves to be in. It's just more useless rules at this point to me. Like, I get if, hey, so I'm skipping this race so that I can go to my daughter's 6th birthday party. Like, no, okay, screw you, you're out. Like, that's a bad reason. But NASCAR at this point has widened the gap and made the gray area basically the entire rule that it is so pointless. Bruce for the 2. Cost Kyle his chance at most popular driver. I really think that if he was able to run that, I don't think he would win most popular driver, but I do think he would give Chase at least a run for his money. Good to see Toast in the chat here. For the 5. Rain was over, track was almost dried, and I'm fairly sure they said it was called due to the likelihood the race would be started after 1 a.m. If that's the case, then yeah, let's see. Humidity was an excuse and not a very valid one. Yeah, I don't believe the humidity one. I thought they said it was raining again. At least that's what I saw from some. If it wasn't, again, call out NASCAR. Then I'm all for that. I just want to know for sure that's what it was. And Jack C Sports for the 2. I'm not happy, Jarrett. Not happy. Don't blame you. I don't blame people for being not happy. I'm on your side with that one. It's just sucks. I think we're all a little cranky too because it's late at night, and it was. I mean, it ended up being a waste of time, and you know, whether or not they meant to or not, it still was a waste of time to be up. Don't let a bunch of people also say that, well, no, it was fine that you waited that long. No, it was a waste of time. Okay, the more and more people I see, the more and more it looks like it wasn't raining, which, again, looked like what I saw on the radar. Then, yeah, I mean, it's seeming more and more like that's the case, then yes, that's probably a NASCAR decision. And if it wasn't, it's definitely a Fox decision. Either way, the powers that be on that part of it completely screwed the pooch then. Yeah. If that, because it's looking more and more like that's the case. Let's see. Yeah, let's see another one here. Bob was interviewing Larson on the way out. It wasn't raining. So that's another one I'm seeing there. Just what a letdown, man. That's, I think, the word we can use. It's just a letdown. I'm thinking of like a nice way to end it off from there. Tyler here for the 5 says, at the track, can confirm it wasn't raining. Track had lots of dry spots. It looked like that. It looked like that. I know some are, now I'm seeing some say, like Terry here saying that there was lightning. I don't know about that. I would, okay, I'm going to say final verdict. If it's my bet on what it was here, my bet is that Fox probably pulled the plug. You know, they don't want to be broadcasting way late at night, even though we're probably just missing local news and paid programming, depending on where in the country you're at. But I have a feeling they probably pulled the plug. That's what it probably was. The thing, yeah, I think the big part we have to remember when it comes to whatever big decisions are made, whether for a race, points, format, season, whatever, the thing you got to remember is that the money, whoever's paying the bills and the money trail is the one, you know, it's going to lead you to who's making that decision. Fox pays those bills. Fox is going to make those decisions. The same way that Fox made the decision to get rid of Texas as the all-star race, the same way that ESPN and NBC influenced in large part the points format changes in NASCAR over the last 20 years. When in doubt, the people in the industry will probably never want to say this. It is TV that makes these calls. NASCAR is not completely, you know, innocent. Don't wash their hands of it. But it is probably in large part a TV move. If they don't want to do it, they can just turn it off. I mean, shit, man. Put it on FS1, whether they're probably replaying, you know, crappy UFL games of players who will never make it to the NFL. I see one here from Matt Weaver. NASCAR and SMI didn't want this outcome. I've asked, and the sentiment is that SMI knows their surface and didn't see the progress they needed to be making. They were committed. So that feels like, to me, that feels more like SMI and NASCAR are taking the fall for a TV decision. That's the best way that I could look at it as. At least I'll check if Matt Weaver's put another one out there. He's pretty good at getting those kind of quotes and different information from people like that. But I have a feeling it was a TV deal. The more and more I look at it. But yeah, I mean, it's the same sentiment on all those parts. So yeah, I mean, there's people posting that it's dry, like posting pictures at the track and from the track, and it was probably a TV deal. And no one will say anything because they pay the bills, even though they don't give a damn about NASCAR from their low effort. And the fact that they're pushing more races next year from Big Fox to cable that less and less people are watching because cable is the way of the dinosaurs. Now you're going to be a little worked up. But sorry, I wish I had a better way to end this off. You guys have a great rest of the night, whatever is left of it after us waiting this long. Enjoy, for many, the day off tomorrow. Remember why we have that day off as well. And hopefully better luck next week, right? All right, guys. Wish it could have been a better ending. I will see you this week and after next weekend's races. So have a good night. Later, y'all.